Hi, this is Max from Abstract Automation. So I've been using Zoho Books for 3 years now, and I love Zoho Books. It's a great accounting software. One thing that I have been contemplating recently is something that I've noticed in my own Zoho Books and also something that I see in a lot of different clients' Zoho Books. And that is the vendor listing is often cluttered with a whole bunch of vendors that aren't necessarily suppliers or regular service providers. They might be just things or vendors that are in there just because of one-time purchases for maybe expenses or other bills that are never really referenced again. So you get things like gas stations and restaurants and hotels and other types of vendors in there that are just there one time and they just clutter up. They make a mess, right? And I feel like, this bothers me a little bit because I feel like, on the CRM side or on the customer side, we always take great care in categorizing all of our customers and segmenting them and filtering our customer list and doing all those sorts of things for sales and marketing. But here on the vendor side, it's just a big jumble of vendors. So I've been thinking about this, and I don't know if I have 100% the absolute answer here, but I do have two ideas that I'd like to walk through, and I'll show you what I'm implementing. I'm actually going to do it in real time, and we'll kind of see where this goes. Now, first of all, I should say that I do have a bookkeeping team that I outsource to do my bookkeeping. They do a fantastic job. This doesn't really fall on them or anything like that. It's just something that I'd like to change. And by the way, if you are looking for bookkeeping services in the US, I've got a great company I can refer you to. So anyway, here's my Zoho book. So, I'm seeing stuff in here. Like I bought something at Best Buy one time, like a USB, I don't know what it was, like a USB hub or something like that. So now I've got Best Buy forever in here. I've got Amazon because I periodically buy office supplies, right? But these aren't my suppliers, I resell and support software. So, Zoho is the main software that I sell. So they're considered a supplier. They're a main vendor in my system, right? I want to be able to pull up a listing of all my suppliers or main vendors without scrolling through these, random places. So what am I going to do about this? So I'm thinking that the first thing I'd like to do is create a custom field at the vendor level that will be a pick list field that will have sort of vendor type categories, right? So things like, are they a contractor? Are they a supplier? Are they a one-time vendor, etc. So let's just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to my setup area and go down to the customer and vendors area. And under field customization, here I can create a new field. Now, one thing to know about Zoho Books is for some reason, Zoho Books has decided to lump the fields together under or make the fields common between customers and vendors. So when we add a field to a vendor, I think that it will also appear under customers. So I'm not going to make the field mandatory. We'll see if there's a way to hide it under the customer. I don't think there is, but we'll see. So we're going to call this vendor type, and let's make it a pick list field or a drop down. And then I don't think we need any help text text here. I can't speak today. We're going to add options in bulk. I have a list here of text that I'm going to paste in. So here are the vendor types I've come up with: contractor, insurance, maintenance, manufacturer, marketing, office, one-time expense, service provider, supplier, and utility. This is probably overkill for my needs. I could probably already see whittling this list down to a few less options, but whatever. We're just going to go with this for now. We are not going to make the field mandatory. I am not going to set a default value, and there's really no reason to show this in the portal. So let's save this field. And so now we've got this new field. So let's close this area, go back to our vendors. All right, so now, if I go to, say, this vendor, Amazon, go to their overview and look at or actually edit the record. under custom fields, we should see our new vendor type field. So from Amazon, I generally get office supplies. So I'm going to select office there. Okay. And then, here's a software company that I use to do some data backups. So we're going to set them as a service provider. All right, now I'm wondering if I can maybe do some of this in bulk, right? So if I click on vendors here, we go back to my listing. So there's a bunch of companies in here that I use for regular service providers. So like Canva for different designs, ChatGPT subscription, Fireflies for note taking, Fiverr for occasional outsourcing, LinkedIn, Loom, which is what I'm using to record this video. So these are companies that they're service providers, and I use their services, and I'm usually getting a bill every month or every year from these companies. My domain here, and so we'll go with that. So I think now that I've got a bunch checked, I can go to bulk update, vendor type, set these to service provider, and update those vendors. All right. So I will go through and categorize all of my vendors at some point soon. But after I do that, what I would like to do is now have different drop-down selections to see or pull up those specific vendor categories. So what I'm going to do is create a new custom view. And let's call this service providers. And so the filter here is vendor type is service provider, and then I can select what names I would like to see in my columns on the right hand side. So let's say we do, I don't know what these, payment terms, vendor type, there we go. So something like that. So now you can see that when I click this drop down, I can go from looking at all vendors to only a specific kind of vendor, like my service providers, for example, right? Or I could switch that to one-time expenses or suppliers or whatever my category is. You can even dot this little star there, and that will sort of make that option stand out or float to the top, easier to select later. Now I have one more thought on this matter that I'm not sure I'm ready to implement yet, but another idea is if you often are inputting bills for one-time expenses, like I said earlier, gas stations, restaurants, hotels, that sort of thing. I'm thinking one approach to consolidate all that stuff would be to create a new vendor record that would sort of be a generic representing all of the vendors with those types of transactions. So like you call the vendor name something like generic one-time vendor, something like that. Give it a display name. You don't really have to fill out anything else. And then whenever you get a bill from one of those entities that qualify for a one-time thing, you're never going to use them again, then you associate the bill with this vendor, and then you put somewhere in the bill itself, in the transaction, either in the line item or in the note of the bill, the actual specifics of the business that you paid for that service, right? The hotel name, the gas station, or whatever. And I'm thinking that this might be a way to make the whole vendor listing even smaller, yet still retaining all of the details. So I'm curious what ideas other people have out there. I'm going to be discussing this with my bookkeeping team, see what they say about it. I haven't really done that yet. I should probably consult with them before making any major changes in my books. But curious if anybody else out there using Zoho Books have come up with some sort of strategy for dealing with this. I hope this helps. Have a great day.